Hey, so I got a couple of these DC Multiverse figures from Mcfarlane Toys that I got to open today. And let's go ahead and get to it. And this one is Dr. Fate. And I believe this is the one, yeah, Injustice 2. So this is one from the video game, which I don't really play a lot of video games. I don't think I've played Injustice 2 at all. So I think I might have played a little bit of the first one. It's a fighting game. It was pretty fun, but like I said, I just don't have a lot of time for video games, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and open them up. Not a whole lot to talk about with the package. There's a picture of the action figure on the back. There's some cross-sell stuff down at the bottom, which has really tiny pictures and really tiny text. So, but there's looks like there's a Batman. There's Shriek, who is a Batman Beyond villain. There's Nightwing in the red New 52 outfit, which I don't really like because it looks too much like Chris O'Donnell. There's John Stewart, which I'll have to try to get that one. That one's pretty cool. And Bizarro. So that's what's featured there on the back. And the bio of this character will be on the trading card, I assume, which is how they did that Batgirl figure that... Why is this thing sticking as bad as it is? I'm about to tear the package because it's just caught on there so badly. I don't know. Strange. So let's go ahead and we can unfold this at the bottom. And I'll make it easier to pull this tray out. The inner plastic tray. And then they're actually, I might as well just take the whole thing out because there's stuff on the inside. So unlike the Batgirl figure, which had a very simple flat plastic base, which to me is bare minimum. Every action figure should come with that, so kudos to Mcfarlane for doing that. This one has, going a little above and beyond, since he's a flying character, he has a flying stand, and also the trading card. And, you know, I don't know why I was bothering with trying to leave this thing in the package, because I'm going to have to pull it out anyway. I know I'm going to have to pull it out anyway. But here we go. Oh, there went that. So there's a little flat plate and this arm, and there's a plate at the bottom of the arm, and it's, let's see, how is this supposed to go in here? Okay, so there is, this is the top, so we just slide that in there like so, and it looks like it should catch on that. Does it click in, or does it just slide in? Looks like there's a little more to it. Yep, there we go, clicks in. So there's that stand, and we'll see him on the stand a little later. First, let's read this trading card, which I need like old man reading glasses to read these trading cards because the print's so small. This one seems a little better than the Batgirl one, but it's still like, look at all that negative space. They could have given this a larger print. Maybe some characters have a more complicated backstory and they want to save the extra space and, you know, have all the lettering be consistent, but I'd rather just be able to read it easily without having to wear old man reading glasses, which I'm going to have to buy at this point if I want to keep reading these trading cards. We can see that it's the same picture from the back where it's just a picture of the action figure. Real name, Kent Nelson. Powerful sorcerer Kent Nelson wears the Helm of Fate, TM. Kent Nelson is TM too, and sees the fate of all mankind for better or worse. He knows the world, and either by Brainiac, TM's hand, or in a war between Batman, TM, and Superman, TM, through the helm, though the helm compels fate to preserve this grim fate for the sake of order, Kent's humanity compels him to intervene on the behalf of his heroic friends and risk unforeseeable consequences. So, you know, there we go. I'm going to put that over with the Batgirl trading card. I'll just have a stack of trading cards going as I get into these figures. So he's got that annoying thing going on where the cape is through the back of the packaging, but it looks like they purposely made the hole the cape is through a little larger, so hopefully that won't be an issue. He's got the annoying rubber tabs right over his golden belt. Looks like it kind of dented the belt a little bit. So there's this winged scarab in the middle there, and I don't know if you can tell, but there's like a couple of horizontal lines across it where that rubber band was. So another reason I hate those rubber tabs, I hate the rubber bands, they just shouldn't exist. Thumbs down to Mcfarlane for putting that, like, right across this golden belt. Like, honestly, you'd think if there was any place on the figure you would not want to put that, it would be across this soft rubber, gold, is it gold plastic or gold paint? I can't tell. But you don't want to put a rubber tab, rubber band, whatever you want to call it. You don't want to put one right there. So, if anybody out there from Mcfarlane Toys sees this and hears me talking about it, shame on you for doing that. Don't do that anymore. At least try to put it up around the waist where, it's a little more hidden. But he's a pretty cool looking figure, like, everyone knows I'm a big fan of Batman. It should be obvious to anybody who watches these videos. I actually took the Batman figure down because I was taking pictures of it with the Batgirl figure that I got. So we can put him back up there now. There we go. But yeah, and the next figure I'm going to open is going to be a Batman figure. So we're gonna get into that. So he's got the same sort of ball jointed, where it's like literally like a separate ball in the middle of the wrist and the hand that Batgirl had. So I'm guessing that's standard on Mcfarlane Toys at this time. I remember in the 90s there was a period where Mcfarlane Toys were like really good with articulation, and then they got really bad with articulation and everything was just like statues basically. And that was when like I lost interest in them, but apparently they've gotten back into the articulation game, which I'm happy about because it coincides with these DC figures. He's really tall. Like, might be a little taller than Batman. Let's see, let me compare to the next figure I'm opening. They look like they're about the same height, but Dr. Fate has a bigger head. But that makes sense because he's wearing a helmet. I do wish that the neck articulation was a little better because he seems like he's always kind of looking down a little bit. Let's see. I'd like to be able to tilt his head back up a little bit more, but oh well. He's got this soft rubbery, like I said, this belt and this whole sort of Egyptian, I don't know what you call it, breechcloth, whatever. That's a whole rubber thing. You can get a little bit of posability out of it, but you're not going to get a whole lot just because of the nature of this type of material. I'm surprised I can even get the leg up at like that sort of an angle. But they were pretty clever how they did this because like the middle section is actually separate from the two side pieces. It's kind of layered over it a little bit. So you can see how like, you can get a little more movement out of that than normally with something like that. But I can get his legs all the way up like that. So that's pretty cool. Almost a 90-degree angle, but not quite. And then side-to-side movement is a little more hindered, but you can still get a little bit of side-to-side movement out of it. So you got, pretty standard for Mcfarlane. You got the swivel at the shoulders. Arm goes all the way around. It goes up about that far. It's got like some sort of butterfly joints here, but they're more sort of like horizontal or vertical butterfly joints. They don't really like go inwards so much as they go upwards. And oops, he's actually got like kind of a little rubber sheath over the torso, and so when I went to bend him all the way back, it kind of pulled his shirt out of his where it's tucked into his belt. So we need to tuck that back in. So be careful of that when you pose him. And then do we have, it might be stuck, but there should be like some rotation here at the upper thigh where it should rotate around. I'm looking at it and I can see their articulation. Oops, that came loose. So that's another thing to be careful of. If you do move this out to the side, see how the skirt came loose? So that's not supposed to do that, but I can glue that back on easily. I'm not worried about it. They didn't have it glued on there very strongly. It was just like a little dollop of glue. They probably figured it was better for it just to come loose than to actually tear. And I agree. I think that's probably a good thing. Now this might be like something I would blame more on the design of the character, like as far as the video game, and they're probably just trying to make him look as much like the video game as possible, so it's not really Mcfarlane's fault. But I think it's strange how, like, he's just got kind of like this armor plate on his hand that doesn't look like it's held on by anything. I guess magic, you know? But still, like, I think it probably would have been better if they'd have had, like, it was on a glove, or maybe had, like, some straps attached to it or whatever. I think that would have looked cooler. I like this cape color. It's like this really pale yellow with kind of a sheen to it. It's not gold like the rest of them is gold. And a lot of times in action figures, if you see a character who's would have a blue and gold motif like this, it happens with Dr. Fate a lot, they'll actually make his cape gold too. So, but this one, they went that extra mile, and it's kind of pearlescent, so that's interesting. But I like it. It gives it the figure a little more depth, a little more sort of interesting things going on. So that gets a thumbs up for me. I like that. I'm gonna have to re-glue that skirt where it came loose, but that shouldn't be too big of a deal. But yeah, it's not even like glued at the side here. Like, you can see how there's like a hole in the hip where that's supposed to plug in, and a tab there, but they didn't even glue that at all. They didn't even bother. So I don't know. Also, as I look at it, I noticed that he's got this sort of like lighter blue leather pad there, and you would think that it would continue down the leg, that would be part of that design motif, but no, it's just all the same dark blue down underneath the belt. So I don't know if that was the sort of thing where they just didn't bother to paint it because they knew it was going to be covered up, or if that's just an oversight. But then, like, he's also got like this sort of most of his outfits like this dark blue, and then this part in the middle, it's not really showing up that well on the camera because of the lighting. But if I turn it this way, you can kind of see it. See how, like, that panel in the middle there is kind of a dark brown. That's an unusual choice. Like, this is from the Injustice video game, which is why he's wearing like this ridiculously detailed outfit. And normally, as I think of Dr. Fate in the comic book, his outfit's fairly simple. It's like a this sort of superhero bodysuit with yellow trunks and yellow boots and little yellow epaulette-looking things over here. And then he's got a yellow cape and an amulet and a helmet. And sometimes in the later appearances, he has gloves, but sometimes he just has bare hands. This one, they kind of compromised and gave him bare hands, but he's got still got like gauntlets and tchotchkes and things like that. Little wrist bracers, whatever you call it. And then those weird things that are apparently just magically adhered to the backs of his hands. So he's got little onks on his shoulder pads. He's got like kind of an abbreviated breastplate that the emblem is embedded into, as opposed to being on a chain or clasping his cape or whatever. And knee pads with the onk symbol on them, and his boots are actually blue, but they've got some gold armor on them, and of course he's got golden shin guards. This is recognizably Dr. Fate. Like, if you're not familiar with this design, like I was not, you still see this on the shelf and go, oh, hey, Dr. Fate, if you're familiar with the character at all. So, it's a really nice design, I think. It's maybe a little fancier than I would like. I would probably rather have just like a plain comic book Dr. Fate, but this one isn't too bad. They even gave some extra detailing to his helmet, like he's got that little extraneous line that swoops down the side there, and they gave him kind of like these design around the eyelets that look kind of like Spider-Man, but if Spider-Man was crying. It's Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, he's crying all the time, but you see how his eyes are just like plain white, so he's supposed to look spooky. But yeah, they did a good job with this figure. I was glad to pick him up. I think I got him at Walmart, and he was in the electronics section in their little collectibles area, instead of over with the regular action figures. So if you're looking for this Dr. Fate, that's where to find him. I'd also seen him selling for fairly inexpensively on Amazon, so probably a little cheaper than I actually paid for this in the Walmart store. So, like, that might be a good place to look for him if you're interested in him. But anyway, that's pretty much it for Dr. Fate. I would definitely recommend him to anybody who's like I am a big fan of the Justice Society, or anybody who's a fan of Dr. Fate in general. It's probably worth picking up. Uh, there's one more thing I want to do this stand, and this is ratcheted really tightly, so I'm having to break it in a little bit. But let's go ahead and see if we can get Dr. Fate on the stand and see how that looks. And that looks pretty cool. You see it kind of presses on the back of his cape, but that's good because it gives him kind of a little bit more of that sort of like floaty sort of look. It doesn't hold him up too high, but it does hold him up where like he's not touching the ground anymore. So that's a good thing to have for flying figures. And if you don't want to display him that way, he actually does have a little peg on the stand where you can just have him stand. So there we go. But anyway, yeah, that's really it for Dr. Fate now. So if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about Dr. Fate. Maybe this specific version, maybe just the character in general. I want to hear what you think. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.